Hi, my name is Darius. Grown up and raised Catholic, and came across that time where I just started questioning. Of course, who am I? I start questioning Jesus. My view of God during that time was a very authoritative view. To me, I could not tell. I couldn't see a distinct difference between God and Jesus. It was just somebody that you don't want to piss off. It seems like the more I questioned, the more, things would seem hypocritical to me. You see a lot of people, they'll say one thing in service, but as they're walking out or whatnot, you can hear them muttering something under their breath or something else, and it's like, okay, we're putting a show on for God. That's just wonderful. Isn't he supposed to know when we're being fake? That's where my disillusionment and just disappointment really came in. I started looking into different other, religions, different other, aspects of things. I couldn't find any meat, I really wanted something I can get into and get deeper in. I couldn't ever find solace. It felt just me in a pew. And there was no God there. There was no Jesus. I ended up working for the cable company. I had a tech friend that he was doing pretty well on his jobs for the day, and I had hit a bad job that had kept me pretty far and put me far behind. And so I contacted my friend, can you just give me some breathing room, help me out, and take one of these jobs off of me real quick? Not today. I have to leave early for a Bible study. He's supposed to be a Christian. He's supposed to be reaching out that hand and saying, yeah, no problem, bro, but he's got a Bible study. Here's another Christian going through the motions. At that point in my life, I wasn't getting shown love, especially that day. That got me even more frustrated, and had this boss that I'd known for at least 3 years or so, named Bob. I just recently got married, and I was having problems in my marriage. And so I know he'd been married for years. So I turned to him as a mentor, and he helped me. But in the course of helping me, I didn't realize until later that his marriage was falling down around him. It was just tragic to hear that both of that their marriage was busting up. And I was looking at him, and he's not letting on that anything was falling down around him. And I kind of asked him, I was like, so I got small potatoes compared to what you got going on. How in the world are you staying centered in this storm that you're going through? He at the time told me, you can't make anybody else number one but Jesus. God has to be first. And that's what he's kept his eyes on. I go to different Christian churches. I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. So I just continued to put my head down. Ended up starting to work for a appliance repair job. I get my gear on, get my hands dirty. Apparently, I must have put my hands too deep in the water or something, because something got in my glove. And from there, I ended up getting sick. I get the results back from the doctor, and they say, hey, you have to go to the hospital right away. Finally, they determined, hey, we got to take your spleen. And it just tore me up. Right at that time, me and my wife were trying to have children. And they're telling me, okay, if you have a kid and you're playing with them in the yard, playing ball and everything, if you miss your medication, you could die if you get an injury. And I'm sitting here going, okay, and if this is something that's in my blood and we do have kids, what's that going to do to the kid? That put me in such a depressive state that either I couldn't be there for my children in the future, or I'm not gonna be able to have a relationship with them at all. So I told my wife, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. She, didn't know what I was talking about. Then the morning came after I slept on all this horrible news. As I'm taking a shower, I'm so depressed. I told my wife that I'm going to get out of the hospital, and I'm going to take my car, and I'm going to drive it to the top of Pikes Peak, and I'm going to put a brick on the gas pedal. And I'm gonna take one last look as I go over the mountain and just see something beautiful before I go, you know? Because if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out my way. And all of a sudden I feel a hand on my shoulder. It scared the heck out of me. All I heard next was, "Don't do it. That's not my plan." It's not a voice I have heard before. I proceeded to have a conversation with this voice. I was about ready to give up, you know? And it came to me in my darkest. And things got better. For a time, at least my health. I felt like I was physically the best I had ever felt in my whole life. One day, I saw my lead, Dan. He was under a lot of pressure at the time, and you couldn't even tell. It was like he was a duck. Everything just rolled off his back. Finally, I just got so curious. I asked Dan, "What's keeping you happy? And how come you're not getting run down and ground down by it?" And he told me, I have my eyes set on Jesus. And that rung the bell with me, because that's the same answer that Bob gave me years before. I was under a supervisor named Ken, and he came up to me one day and asked me, "Hey, do you like concerts? We do a concert every weekend." I was like, "Yeah, why not? Concert sounds fun. Come to DCC on Sunday." Then I started talking to my center manager and found out that he's going to the same place that Ken's going to. And if Ken and Mike are finding happiness, no, that there's something to this guy. There's something to this guy named Jesus.